Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment that your thoughts are not just ideas, they're blueprints. Every belief, every story you tell yourself, every word you whisper in your mind, it's constructing the person you are becoming. We live in a world where we're told to hustle, to grind, to keep moving. But very few people stop to ask, what am I thinking while I'm moving? What am I telling myself while I'm chasing success? The truth is powerful and simple. You become what you think about. Your thoughts are the foundation of your actions, your habits, your identity. And when your thoughts are negative, uncertain, or full of doubt, don't be surprised when your life starts to reflect that. But when your thoughts are focused, intentional, and rooted in belief, you start becoming someone who can change not just your own life, but inspire those around you. So today isn't just about motivation. It's about responsibility. It's about realizing that every thought is a seed, and what you water is what will grow. Let's explore what happens when we stop letting the world shape our minds and start shaping our minds to shape the world. Your thoughts shape your identity and future in ways far more powerful than most people ever realize. Every day, every moment, we are thinking, consciously or unconsciously. And with every thought, we are building something. That something is our self-image, our personality, our confidence, our fear, our belief systems. The voice inside our head is not just background noise. It's the architect of our lives. Whether we realize it or not, that voice is writing our story brick by brick, moment by moment. When we repeatedly think certain thoughts, they begin to form beliefs. Beliefs form behaviors. Behaviors create habits. Habits create our reality. That's why it's said, you don't act according to what's true. You act according to what you believe is true. And those beliefs come directly from your thinking. If someone constantly thinks, I'm not good enough, they begin to internalize that thought. It becomes a lens through which they see themselves. It affects their choices. They might not apply for a better job, speak up in a meeting, or pursue a relationship because deep down, they believe they don't deserve it. And where did that belief start? With a thought. One thought repeated often enough becomes an identity. It starts as a whisper and ends as a rule we live by. On the other hand, a person who thinks, I can figure things out no matter what, begins to approach life with a sense of curiosity and resilience. They may not have all the answers, but they move forward because their thinking is aligned with growth and possibility. Over time, they build a personality around problem solving and courage. Again, it began with a thought. And through repetition, it became the way they see themselves. Our minds are always listening. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you live. Think about your own life. The person you are today is the result of years of thinking in a particular direction. If you've always believed you're bad with money, it's likely you've avoided learning about finances, budgeting, or investing. If you've always thought you're not creative, you probably never gave yourself permission to try, to experiment, to play with new ideas. The irony is that most of these thoughts aren't even originally ours. They come from what we heard growing up, what society told us, what past failures whispered into our ears. But once we accept them, we live by them. It's also important to understand the role of repetition. A single negative thought doesn't do much damage, but repeated daily, it begins to etch a path in the mind like water carving stone. The brain loves familiarity. So if we keep thinking the same things, even if they're destructive, the brain adapts and begins to default to those thoughts. That's why changing your life means changing what you repeatedly think about. You can't expect a positive life with a mind full of doubt, fear, and criticism. Your mind is the garden, your thoughts are the seeds. You can plant positivity, confidence, belief, or you can plant fear, insecurity, and limitation. But either way, something is growing. Every breakthrough in life begins in the mind. Athletes visualize winning before they ever step into the arena. Leaders envision their impact before they ever influence people. Entrepreneurs imagine their ideas succeeding before a dollar is earned. They win in their mind long before they win in reality. That's not magic, it's mindset. Because once you see something clearly in your mind, your actions begin to align with it. That alignment creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Even when the external world seems hard or chaotic, the internal world, your thoughts, remain your responsibility. You can't control every situation, but you can control how you think about it. And in that power lies freedom. Your identity doesn't come from your circumstances. It comes from the story you tell yourself about who you are. That story is shaped by thought. So if you want to change your identity, don't just change your behavior, start with your thinking. Ultimately, you are not your past. You are not your environment. You are what you choose to think about most consistently. And the good news is you can change that. You can feed your mind with new thoughts, new beliefs, new images of who you are becoming. Because when your thoughts begin to shift, your future begins to shift. Your thoughts shape your identity, and your identity shapes the direction of your life. The future isn't found. It's built. And the blueprint is already in your mind. What you focus on consistently becomes your reality. This is not just an inspirational idea, it's a psychological and neurological truth. The brain is wired to seek and find what we focus on. Whatever you give your mental energy to will start to expand in your life. Think about it this way, your attention is like a flashlight in a dark room. Wherever you point it, that part of the room lights up. The rest is still there, but your mind only interacts what you've illuminated. The same happens in life. If you constantly focus on problems, you become more aware of every little thing that's going wrong. If you focus on opportunities, you start noticing chances you never saw before. This is not the universe changing, it's you changing. Your reality is being filtered through the lens of your consistent focus. Consider how two people can go through the exact same situation and walk away with two entirely different experiences. One may say it was a disaster. The other calls it a lesson. The difference, one focused on the pain, the other on the growth. The event didn't change, the focus did. And when your focus changes, so does your emotional response, your behavior, and your long-term direction. That's how powerful attention is. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. What you focus on affects how you feel. How you feel influences what you do. What you do shapes your results. And your results reinforce what you continue to focus on. This is why it's so dangerous to live in a state of constant distraction. In today's world, we are bombarded with information, most of it negative, superficial, and reactive. If you don't take control of your focus, the world will do it for you. Social media, news cycles, and even conversations around you will pull your mind in 1,000 directions. And most of those directions are not helping you become stronger, happier, or more fulfilled. You begin to think the world is chaotic, people are hopeless, and your dreams are too far away. Not because it's true, because that's what you've been feeding your focus. The good news is you can reclaim your attention. You can begin to choose what you consistently concentrate on. Start by becoming more intentional with what you consume. If you spend time watching videos that inspire you, reading ideas that challenge you, and listening to people who uplift you, your focus starts to shift. As your focus shifts, your mindset follows. And with a new mindset, you begin to notice new possibilities. Let's also understand how the brain supports this principle. There's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, RAST. Its job is to filter out unnecessary information and highlight what's important based on what you're focusing on. If you buy a new car, suddenly you see that car everywhere. That's your RAS in action. You told your brain that something matters to you, so now it highlights it in your environment. Imagine what happens when you tell your brain that your goals, your health, your growth matter. The brain begins scanning your environment to support that. It works both ways. If you constantly focus on fear or failure, your brain will feed you reasons to stay afraid and avoid risks. If you focus on solutions, it will help you find them, even in unlikely places. This is why success begins with focus. Not just hard work, not just talent, but the consistent ability to direct your attention where it matters most. Athletes do this before games. They shut out noise and focus on execution. Artists do this when they enter a flow state, losing themselves in creation. Leaders do this when they block out doubt and concentrate on the vision. It's not a mystery. It's focus practiced over time. It's also important to realize that what you focus on not only shapes your world, it also shapes who you are becoming. If you focus on growth, you start to see yourself as someone who improves. If you focus on lack, you begin to see yourself as someone who never has enough. Identity is deeply tied to consistent focus. So the question isn't just, what do you want in life? The better question is, what are you focusing on every day? Because that answer will tell you where you're going. At the end of the day, your future is being built by your present focus. Your reality is not just something you walk into. It's something you build from the inside out. You cannot afford to be careless with your attention. It's the most valuable resource you have. Every day, you are either fueling your goals or feeding your distractions. The choice is always yours, and the power lies in your focus. Negative thinking creates self-imposed limitations that can quietly sabotage even the most talented and hardworking individuals. While challenges in life are real and often external, the biggest walls we face are the ones we build inside our own minds. The most damaging limits are the ones we create by repeating negative beliefs about ourselves, our potential, and the world around us. When we think negatively on a regular basis, we begin to shrink our vision, doubt our abilities, and settle for less than we're capable of achieving. Not because we can't do more, but because we've convinced ourselves we can't. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not smart enough, I'll never get out of this, or I'm not like those successful people, you are casting votes for an identity that holds you back. These thoughts don't just stay in your head. They influence how you show up in the world. They shape your posture, your energy, your confidence, and your willingness to try. They keep you from applying, asking, speaking, building, or taking risks. The scary part is that you begin to make decisions not based on what's possible, but based on what your negative thinking tells you is safe. And the more you choose safety over growth, the more your world begins to shrink. It all starts with the mind. A person trapped in a negative thinking pattern might wake up already assuming that today won't be different, that nothing will change, that it's too late. They might carry resentment from the past, fear of the future, or deep insecurity in the present. These emotions aren't random. They're fueled by thought, and when we let those thoughts go unchecked, they build momentum. A single thought like, I'm a failure, can spiral into, I'll never be happy, people don't care about me, or why even try? It's not long before you feel trapped in a mental cage made of your own words. What's worse is that the brain begins to support those patterns. The more you think negatively, the more your brain wires itself to default to those thoughts. It becomes your automatic response. You start expecting things to go wrong. You start assuming people are against you. You see obstacles everywhere because your mind is trained to find them. This is why someone with a negative mindset can be in a room full of opportunity and still feel stuck. The opportunity is there, but the belief in it is missing. One of the greatest tragedies of negative thinking is that it convinces people to play small. It's not that they don't have dreams or ideas, it's that their mind convinces them not to pursue them. Maybe they fear judgment. Maybe they fear failure. Maybe they failed before and told themselves that the past predicts the future. But those fears are not facts. They are stories, and they come from a mind that has been conditioned to expect the worst instead of hope for the best. But here's the true thing. No one was born thinking they weren't good enough. That's learned, and anything that's learned can be unlearned. You don't have to believe every thought you think. In fact, some of the most powerful personal growth starts when you challenge the voice in your head. When you ask, is this really true? Or, where did this belief even come from? You start to regain control. You begin to see that not all your thoughts are valid. Some are just echoes of old fears or someone else's criticism that you accidentally made your own. Replacing negative thinking doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing thoughts that empower you rather than limit you. It means replacing I can't with I'll try. It means swapping it's too late for I'm just getting started. It means learning to speak to yourself like someone you care about rather than someone you're trying to tear down. Because when your self-talk changes, your actions change. And when your actions change, your life begins to shift in powerful ways. There is no external success that can make up for a mind trapped in negativity. Because even if you achieve something great, a negative mind will find a reason to discredit or feel like it's not enough. True success, true freedom begins with mastering your thinking. You must choose to stop feeding the thoughts that drain you and start building the ones that grow you. That takes practice, that takes awareness, but it also takes belief. Belief that your thoughts are not who you are and that you have the power to rewire your mind. In the end, the limits that hold you back aren't real until you believe them. And once you stop believing in them, they start to disappear. Negative thinking is a habit. So is confidence, so is resilience, so is growth. And it all begins with the thoughts you choose to think every single day. Belief is the engine behind meaningful action. Without belief, effort becomes empty, directionless, and easily abandoned. But with belief, true internal, deep-rooted belief, ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things. Belief is not about blind faith or wishful thinking. It's about an inner certainty that what you're doing matters, that who you're becoming is real, and that the vision you carry is worth pursuing, no matter the odds. Belief fuels persistence. It pushes you to keep going when logic says stop. It makes you stand up after every fall. It silences the noise of doubt and amplifies the voice of purpose. Think about the people who have made real change in their lives or in the world. What sets them apart? It's not always resources, talent, or education. It's that they believed in something with enough conviction to act on it, to fight for it, to fail for it, and to keep moving despite the setbacks. That kind of belief is a force multiplier. It turns effort into progress and obstacles into stepping stones. Without it, even the best strategy will fall flat. With it, even uncertain paths can lead to breakthroughs. Belief begins in the mind long before it shows up in results. You have to see yourself as someone capable before you ever become that person. If you're starting a business, you have to believe you're capable of solving problems, serving others, and learning quickly. If you're trying to get healthy, you have to believe that change is possible and that your actions matter. Without that belief, Every challenge will feel like proof that you're not for it. But when belief is strong, challenges become confirmation that you're growing and getting closer. The tricky part is that belief doesn't always come naturally. Life experiences, failures, criticism, and rejection can wear down your confidence. You might begin to question yourself, wonder if you're capable, or doubt if it's even worth trying. But belief is not something you wait for, it's something you build. Just like a muscle, it grows with repetition. Every time you take a small step forward, every time you show up despite the fear, you're feeding your belief system. And over time, that belief becomes stronger than your excuses. Belief is also contagious. When you truly believe in yourself or your mission, other people feel it. They may not fully understand your vision, but they can sense your conviction. That energy inspires trust, attracts support, and creates momentum. Look at great leaders, creators, athletes. They all exude belief. Even when things aren't perfect, they move forward with certainty. That certainty creates influence. It draws people in, and it starts from within. It's important to remember that belief is tested in the valleys, not on the mountaintops. When things go wrong, when nothing seems to work, when progress feels slow, that's when belief is most needed. That's when most people quit, not because they lack skill, but because they lost belief. They stopped seeing the point. They forget why they started. They no longer trust that their effort will pay off. But those who hold on, those who keep showing up with belief, often experience the breakthrough they once thought was impossible. Belief also helps you redefine failure. When you believe in your purpose or your growth, failure is no longer a dead end. It becomes a redirection, a lesson, a necessary part of the journey. Without belief, failure feels personal. With belief, it feels educational. That shift in perspective can change your entire approach to life. You stop fearing mistakes and start welcoming the growth they offer. You stop hesitating and start experimenting. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating progress with what you have. Sometimes belief is quiet. It's not always loud or boastful. It doesn't need to be proven to others. It just needs to be strong enough to keep you moving. It's the quiet confidence that says, I may not be there yet, but I'm on my way. It's the decision to keep going when no one is watching, to keep improving when no one is cheering, to keep dreaming when the evidence hasn't caught up yet. That kind of belief is powerful. It builds character, it builds resilience, and eventually it builds results. The truth is, you can't outperform your belief system for long. If deep down you don't believe you're worthy, capable, or enough, you'll sabotage opportunities, avoid risks, and play small. But when you upgrade your belief system, everything begins to shift. You begin to take bolder actions, speak with more clarity, and pursue goals with greater consistency. You begin to align your life with the person you know you can become. Belief doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees progress. And progress over time leads to transformation. The engine behind every meaningful change, every powerful decision, and every lasting breakthrough is belief. Without it, we hesitate. With it, we rise. The mind works like a magnet, drawing into your life the energy, people, opportunities, and experiences that align with your dominant thoughts. Whether you are conscious of it or not, your inner world is constantly shaping your outer reality. You attract what you consistently think about, what you emotionally dwell on, and what you truly believe you deserve. This isn't just a metaphysical idea. It's a psychological reality. Your mindset determines what you notice, how you interpret situations, and how you respond to them. When your mind is focused on gratitude and possibility, you begin to see doors open that were always there, but invisible to a closed or fearful mindset. Imagine waking up each day and focusing on what's missing, what's broken, and what's wrong. Over time, your perception narrows. You begin to miss out on opportunities for progress because your thoughts are tuned to scarcity. Even when good things happen, they feel small or insignificant because your mind is filtering life through lack. You end up repelling joy, progress, and connection, not because you don't want them, but because your mental energy is pointed in the opposite direction. That is the power of attraction. What do you think about, you invite more of into your awareness. On the other hand, a person who chooses to focus on what's working, on what they're learning, and on what they want to create begins to live in a state of mental alignment. They start seeing connections others don't see. They hear opportunity in conversations others might overlook. They respond to problems with curiosity rather than panic. This mental posture invites growth. It attracts people who are on a similar path. It builds confidence, not by magic, but by the steady accumulation of aligned actions and perceptions. One reason this works is because your mind hates being inconsistent with your dominant thoughts. If you believe deeply that you are worthy of success, your mind will begin to steer you, often unconsciously, toward actions that match that belief. You'll prepare more, show up differently, speak with more conviction. That internal alignment will be felt by others. It will influence how they respond to you. People are drawn to those who have clarity and presence. That's attraction at work, not just in a spiritual sense, but in a human one. It's also worth noting that your energy speaks before your words do. The thoughts you dwell on affect your mood, your tone, your body language. When you walk into a room carrying confidence, kindness, and purpose, people notice. You attract respect, openness, and trust. But if you carry resentment, fear, or self-doubt, that energy is just as visible. People may not know exactly what's wrong, but they'll feel something is off. Your inner world always leaks into your outer world. That's why it's so important to guard your thoughts, not just for your sake, but because your thoughts shape the energy you project, and that energy shapes your experiences. Attraction also applies to goals and progress. When you become clear on what you want and focus on it with belief and action, you begin to draw the right steps toward you. You may meet someone unexpectedly who offers help. You might stumble across the right book, video, or resource at just the right moment. These are not coincidences. They are the result of being tuned into a frequency that aligns with your desires. When your mind is scattered, opportunities seem random. When your mind is focused, they feel inevitable. That's the power of alignment and attraction working together. This doesn't mean you can just sit back and wish for things. Attraction is not passive. It's about creating mental clarity and then acting in ways that match that clarity. Connect. It's about choosing thoughts that serve you and rejecting the ones that sabotage you. It's about being intentional with your emotions and environment so that your energy stays clean and focused. The more disciplined you are with your thinking, the more magnetic you become. You begin to radiate purpose. You begin to move with direction. You attract better conversations, deeper relationships, and more aligned paths. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Your thoughts are the first step in a chain reaction. Thought leads to emotion. Emotion fuels action. Action creates momentum. Momentum builds identity, and identity determines your results. Every step in that chain is influenced by the thoughts you choose to focus on daily. So, if you want to attract a better life, start with better thoughts. Feed your mind ideas that expand you. Visualize outcomes that inspire you. Speak words that uplift and challenge you. Surround yourself with voices that stretch you. When you do that consistently, you begin to attract a reality that matches your internal world. In the end, you attract not just what you want, but what you are. If you want to attract better, be better. If you want more love, be more loving. If you want more growth, be more curious. If you want more opportunity, be more prepared. Your life is always reflecting the energy you bring to it, and that energy starts in your mind. Repetition is the foundation of mental transformation. Just as physical habits shape the body, mental habits shape the mind. What you think about consistently, you begin to believe. What you believe, you begin to live out. Repetition carves new pathways in your brain, slowly replacing old patterns with new ones. It may seem simple or even boring, but that is where the real magic happens, not in one-time inspiration, but in daily reinforcement. If you want to change your life, you must first change your thoughts, and then repeat those thoughts until they become your natural response to the world. The human brain is wired for efficiency. It automates whatever you do frequently. That's why you don't have to consciously think about brushing or driving a familiar route. We've repeated those actions so many times that they become second nature. The same thing happens with thoughts. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," your brain accepts that as truth, and it begins to look for evidence to support it. But if you begin to repeat, "I am growing stronger every day," your brain starts to shift. At first, it may resist, but with enough repetition, it starts to build a new belief system. This is not about lying to yourself or ignoring reality. It's about choosing to reinforce thoughts that serve your growth instead of ones that feed your fear. Think of it like planting seeds. If you water weeds with constant negative thoughts, your garden will be full of fear, doubt, and limitation. But if you water the seeds of belief, courage, and purpose every day through repetition, they will take root and eventually bloom into a stronger mindset. The process takes time, but it's inevitable. Your brain is listening, and it's always learning. That's why daily practices like affirmations, visualization, journaling, or even quiet reflection are so powerful. They aren't about surface-level motivation. They're about conditioning. Every time you write down your goals, every time you visualize your success, every time you speak encouraging words to yourself, you are strengthening the mental muscles that will carry you through tough times. You're creating internal proof that says, "This is who I am becoming." Over time, your mind stops questioning and starts cooperating. It stops fighting the new identity and starts embracing it. Think about elite athletes, successful entrepreneurs, or inspiring leaders. They all use repetition to train their minds. They don't just set a goal once and forget it. They remind themselves of it daily. They don't just visualize victory once, they rehearse it again and again until they're mindful like it's already happened. They condition their focus, discipline, and mindset until it becomes automatic. That's the power of repetition. It moves your thoughts from something you do occasionally to something you embody continuously. Repetition also strengthens your emotional resilience. When life gets difficult, your mind will default to whatever you've practiced most. If you've practiced self-doubt, panic, or blame, that's what will rise to the surface. But if you've practiced calm, courage, and focus, even in small doses, those become your new baseline. That's not accidental. That's trained. And training happens through repetition. One affirmation won't change your life, but repeating it every day for 6 months might change your mind, and that will change everything else. It's important to be patient with this process. Rewiring your mind takes time. You might not see instant results. That's okay. You don't go to the gym once and expect a transformation. The same goes for your mind. What matters is showing up every day and doing the work, repeating the thoughts, the words, the focus that align with your highest self. Every repetition is a brick in the foundation of your future. And if you stay consistent, one day you'll look up and realize that you've become the person you once only imagined. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need to have perfect days, you just need to repeat the right things enough times. Even when you don't feel like it. Space to reconnect. Especially when you don't feel like it. That's when the real growth happens. When you choose to think positively in the face of negativity, when you repeat your vision in the midst of doubt, when you speak belief even when the evidence isn't there yet, that's when you are rewiring yourself for greatness. The future belongs to those who are disciplined enough to train their minds. And training doesn't happen once. It happens daily, hourly, moment by moment. Every time you repeat a thought, you cast a vote for who you're becoming. Choose your thoughts wisely. Repeat them intentionally. And remember, repetition isn't just how you learn, it's how you become.